Raymond M. Unger, Unger.
And when you born?
November the 5th, 1929.
Where you born?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
What is the ethnic origin of your last name, Unger?
Austrian.
Austrian?
Yeah.
So when did your ascendants came to the United States? Do you know?
I wasn't born in Austria, though.
You won.
No.
Yeah, right.
My mother came to the United States, I think she was like 17, and my father was about 20.
Uh-huh.
They didn't know each other. They came from two different small towns in Austria.
Huh.
The town my father came from was near the Hungarian border.
How do they meet?
Chicago, usually immigrants from Austria gathered in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they met, my mother and father.
Mm. Tell me about your sibling. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I only have one brother.
One brother.
Yes.
Okay. Is it younger or older?
He's older.
Uh-huh.
In fact, he just turned 80. I think he just turned 86.
What school did you go through there?
Public schools by the name of Parker.
Parker?
Parker, Parker.
Uh-huh. High school?
High school.
And when did you graduate?
1948.
So what did you do after that?
I went to work for the U.S. Steel.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Ah. And what did you do there?
Eventually, I was running overhead cranes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you were quite skilled worker.
Well, I tried to be.
Uh-huh. U.S. Steel.
Yes.
Up to that 1950s, U.S. Steel was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yes.
How much were you paid at the time?
Gosh, I don't remember.
Huh.
Yeah, no. The salary was good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been there.
You born on the Great Depression, on the year of Great Depression, right? 1929.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the life around that time.
Well, life was kind of difficult because, first of all, my father, who was a carpenter in the old country, couldn't find work.
Right.
So he took a job as a janitor. And we lived in this building, in the basement apartment. And that's what my father did. He was a janitor. And my brother and I both had to help him carry the garbage down, shovel coal, a lot of hard work. But
yeah. So when did you join the military? Did you join army?
I was drafted.
You were drafted. Oh, you were having good time in U.S. Steel.
Yeah.
And then you were drafted.
Right. And
do you remember when was it?
March the 17th, 1951.
51. So then you knew about the breakout of Korean War?
Well, there's so many things that I have a question mark on, and one of them is why was I drafted? I wore glasses since I was a little boy because I had such bad eyesight. I couldn't see close and I couldn't see far away.
Oh.
And without glasses, it was almost like being blind.
Wow.
The military did not replace those civilian dressy glasses that I wore with Army brand glasses. Army brand glasses were thick frames, and they wouldn't easily break. But I was never issued that. I had these civilian glasses that were very dainty. And I had those glasses when I got captured. I had those same glasses when I got home.
Were you not supposed to be drafted if you had a very bad eyesight?
Right.
What was the criteria?
They needed bodies in the war.
No, I mean, what was the criteria for the bad eyesight not to be drafted? Do you know?
No.
So you still don't figure out why
Right.
you were drafted?
No, I still don't know.
Oh.
Because they do eye tests, and I know I failed them all, and it's only because I didn't have the vision. My left eye is worse than my right eye, and neither one of them is that good. Now, you may be wondering why I'm not wearing glasses now.
Right.
Well,
You have
I had implants done by the VA,
I see.
and I think it's a miracle because I need glasses for reading.
I see. Well, that is the March offensive. You know, the U.S. UN forces went up to Yalu River, then they had to withdraw because of the Chinese, and then they went back to the DMZ area through the March offensive, spring offensive, 1951, and probably that is the reason that you are drafted, even, the bad eyesight. Anyway, where did you go for basic military training?
Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri.
Fort what?
Leonard Wood.
Could you spell that?
Leonard, Leonord, Wood, W.
Okay. In Missouri?
Yes.
What kind of training did you receive?
I was there for 14 weeks, and 6 weeks was infantry training,
And?
and 8 weeks of cook and baker school. You were supposed to learn how to cook
Cook what?
food for the GIs in the training camps. And I just feel that, first of all, you fill out a form when you're being drafted of what kind of jobs you had.
Yeah.
And I put this job down about running overhead cranes at the steel mill,
Right.
thinking that there was a chance of me being put into
Engineering.
engineering.
Combat engineering.
Right. And that didn't happen. The training took place at Fort Leonard Wood.
Uh-huh.
All the equipment that they had was updated. Electric stoves, all the best tools, whatever you needed, they had it.
Oh, so you have to learn how to use those.
And, well, there was no problem with that. But those items were not popular items when you were actually in the Army. And half of the equipment isn't there, nothing. So it's make-believe and make what's due.
I see. So what you've been trained and actually what you had to do is completely different.
Oh, sure.
Got it. What happened to you after that? 14 weeks of basic military training.
I was sent overseas to Korea, and
Directly?
yes. Well, I was home for 2 weeks,
And?
and then we took a ship out of Seattle, Washington,
Uh-huh.
and I was on the General John Pope troop ship.
Yeah, I think I heard that. General John Pope,
Yeah.
yes.
And that took us 9 days to get into Japan.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, we got on another boat, and then it took us into Korea.
What did you do in Japan for after you arrived there?
Japan was supposed to be a retraining program for weapons, and we were all issued new rifles on the ship. All the rifles had this grease in the barrel, and I never took it out, but I still fired it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that was a very short one-day thing. I never learned how to shoot. Did you know what a BAR was?
Yeah. Tell me about to the audience. What is BAR?
BAR is just a large weapon,
Heavy.
and it's heavy. It has a lot of firepower,
Yeah.
and it has good range to it.
Can you name one kind?
That was it.
That's it. Okay. And when did you arrive in Korea?
That I really don't know.
I mean the month?
I landed in there on it had to be in October.
October 1951.
Yeah.
Where did you arrive?
In Japan first, and
then?
I don't know what seaport that was.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there, like I say, for maybe 2 days,
Uh-huh.
and then took a boat, crossed the water into Korea.
Where did you arrive?
When?
Incheon?
Um,
Busan?
all the way down.
Busan.
Yeah, I guess.
And do you remember it's around October of 1951?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What happened to you then?
As a replacement, I was put into a certain outfit. Turned out to be the 2nd Division.
Uh-huh.
And as I got to where we were going to get accepted and given information about what we were supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
all the numbers that I had that related to what I was trained to do, and that was a cook and baker, they took that away,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me the number of an infantry lineman.
Oh. What is it?
4745.
What do you mean 4745?
That was the number of an infantry lineman.
Uh-huh. And what does that mean?
Well, it means that when you got shot, they knew what you did.
Okay. And so tell me about it. What did you do? Where were you actually?
We were at that point in time, 2nd Division was like 40 miles north of the 38th over on the East Coast.
I see. So punchable?
Yeah.
Was it punchable?
Well, I think it was nearby. I can't really tell you whether that's exactly where we were.
Do you remember Heartbreak Ridge?
Well, it sounds familiar,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know if I saw it or not.
And what was your daily mission? I mean, what is your typical day of your duties?
Gopher.
Huh?
A gopher.
What is that?
Go for this, go for that, do this, do that.
What kind? What kind of?
Everything.
Including?
Carry the food up to the guys that were on line,
Uh-huh.
and
How about ammunition? No?
no.
And what else?
The day I was captured, we were on what they called stretcher detail.
What is that?
E Company went and took Hill 868 and had a lot of casualties. So I was in the group that went up there to take the wounded
Oh.
and the dead soldiers down.
I see. Do you remember the day that you were captured?
September 11th,
Of?
51.
No. It doesn't make any sense. You said that you arrived in Busan or whatever, Korea,
Oh, I said October.
October 11th?
No. I think I got on the boat in D.C. in August. Took us 9 days over.
Mm-hmm.
So August to near the end of August,
Mm-hmm.
we landed in Japan.
Mm-hmm. So you must arrived in Korea in September,
Yeah.
early September?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very early in September. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
No problem. And then you just went up to the north and then you were captured,
I was on that stretcher detail, as they call it,
right?
and every wounded soldier was given a ride down on a stretcher. 4 Koreans carried the stretcher with 1 American.
Yeah.
And
Was it Katusa? Was Korean soldier Katusa?
yeah,
Yeah.
and so he didn't want to ride down. He wanted to go down on his own.
Mm.
So the 2 of us went down the hill, and as it turns out, first of all, I was never given a password
I see.
when we get to our line,
Right.
and it was dark, but there was a huge moon, big moon. I've never seen a moon that big.
Mm.
And you could see your shadow on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And being worried about getting shot by our own guys, I yelled, 2 GIs coming down.
Yeah.
And a voice came back and said, come on. Well, I knew we had to cross this narrow river,
Uh-huh.
and I saw the river, and I started heading down toward it. I didn't know where there was a bridge, and I wasn't sure where that was. So I thought, well, I'll walk to the edge of the water, look for the bridge, walk over there. And 5 North Korean soldiers were hiding in these tall weeds. And the guy stood up and had this rifle, and I said to him, GI, GI. And he hit me in the mouth.
Hmm.
And I called him an SOB.
Uh-huh.
And then I saw this little red star on his hat. So I knew I was captured.
Was that September 11th or October 11th?
That was September 11th.
How do they treat you?
Not too bad. I was a prisoner, and to get us out of this area, there was a truckload of wounded North Korean soldiers,
Oh,
and they put us on that,
you with the wounded North
Yeah.
Korean soldier?
and they didn't say or do anything to the guy that was with me, the other American, but boy, they were on my case
Hmm.
because I didn't have any wounds. But and from there, we went to a little village, and were put in a regular Korean house, and I started getting interrogated. And the interrogator lived in Chicago
Huh?
for 5 years, spoke excellent English,
Korean?
Korean. He told me what college he was going to, AT&T, and we talked about downtown Chicago, all the stores, And and he was asking me all kinds of questions about where our units were, and I had no clue. Being a greenhorn, I didn't know where anybody was at, and of course I couldn't tell that to him because he'll think I'm lying to him. But I tried to make it as simple as I could, so he believed me. And I don't know how long we were there. We weren't there maybe a week. But one day he asked me to come in again. He wanted to talk to me. So he asked basically the same questions as before.
Again.
And I gave him the same answers that I had. Well, he tied my hands behind my back, and he took me up on top of this hill, up on the side of this hill.
Yeah.
And I thought my life was over.
Oh, yeah.
Because he said that I was lying to him. And he asked me questions about where all our outfits were. And I didn't know, you know. And he kept telling me to turn around to face him. He was at the bottom, and he kept saying, turn around, and I wouldn't. I'm thinking, and I did a lot of praying. And so I didn't turn around, and then the three riflemen that he had with him, they came and got me, took me back down the hill, and from there we went to Pyongyang.
Why didn't he kill you?
I don't know. The guy that was captured with me, he witnessed all this. He was just coming back from getting his bandages changed, and he was witnessing this. And I think what that was all about was that they wanted to record and take pictures of this American soldier telling a North Korean officer about where our troops were. I think that's what it was all about.
How long did it take to get to the Pyongyang?
Some days. I don't really know. I can't recall staying overnight anywhere. And I'm wondering now whether it was the same day. And I don't recall being driven anywhere. Memory loss is getting to me, but I think we walked, and that included the guy that was captured with me. And then we got into Pyongyang.
Pyongyang where?
We were probably east of the main part of Pyongyang. They were constantly being attacked by our planes.
Was it camp?
It was a camp.
So it's a mining camp? Bean camp?
Oh, no, it wasn't that. Maybe it was the bean camp. You know what? I never did hear a name.
How many prisoners were there?
When we started out on our march, there was 50 of us, and that's what that place was. It was they gathered up all the prisoners and got 50 or whatever it was, and then we all marched north.
From Pyongyang?
Yeah.
When did you leave for north from Pyongyang?
We left the later part of October.
Of 1951?
Yeah. And we got up to, and I'm going to call it Camp 3, on Thanksgiving Day.
You arrived there at Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, November the 25th or whatever.
What were you thinking? You going into a prison camp on the day of Thanksgiving?
Well, it was better than what I just came off of. That march was. They first, I didn't mention this, but when I got captured, they took my shoes,
So you were on a barefoot?
and I took. Somebody gave me a pair of North Korean slippers, but they have such small feet. I had to fold the back down, and my heel was sticking over the back of it. But if you can picture that.
Why did they take your boots off? I mean, away.
They
wanted to have yours, right?
Well, either that or they were afraid I was going to try to escape.
I see. So you're still on that North Korean sandal kind of shoes?
Yeah.
Even in Pyongyang?
Yeah.
And when you marched toward Camp 5, still the same?
Yeah. There was a pilot who was from Chicago, and he had a summer flak suit on. And
Air Force pilot?
Yeah, he flew. He was a Marine pilot.
Marine.
And I had a pair of coveralls, and they were given to us by the North Koreans, and I had that, and I had my fatigues. And I told him, give me that flight jacket, I'll give you my fatigues. He can pack it with something, and so that's what we did. But I made a mistake by having that suit of his out in front, because we go through towns and people see that Air Force thing. They didn't like that.
Yeah, because they didn't like the UN Air Force.
Right, so I quickly changed that.
How was Camp 5?
Actually, I was in Camp 3. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Camp 3. How was it?
Initially, it was a place to be.
It's a Changsong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't know what to expect. It was strictly a little village, and where they put us were in village homes, and I couldn't help but wonder what happened to the people that lived in those homes. They chased them out to put us in there. And I said, well, that's not right, That must be true communism. But that's where we stayed.
They are not real communist.
No.
And tell me about the life there. How was it? I mean, food, how many people were in the room? What's the typical day at Camp 3?
Well, it wasn't difficult. We ended up with six guys to a room. We made our own beds. We didn't sleep on the floor. And
what do you mean bed? What kind of?
Well, they were there's a bed here and a bed right on top of it.
Oh, you had a bunk bed.
Bunk beds. We made those.
You made yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have a blanket?
No.
Then what did you cover?
They had these rice sacks, and that was laid down first, and then you could just flop it over on top of you.
Did you have heat during the winter?
No.
How many meals a day?
I think it was two, one in late morning and then one in the evening.
What did you eat?
Mostly it was rice with little black dead bugs, and then there was two others. My memory's just going down the tube, buddy. There was rice, and some corn,
Uh,
and
was it real rice or was it millet or any other?
oh, millet was another one that we had,
Yeah.
but it was rice, yeah. I still like rice today.
I heard that there was some prisoner of war refused to eat. They were thinking good stuff from home, and they refused to eat. What is that the case that you also saw?
I never witnessed that.
Uh-huh.
I've heard that.
Oh, you heard that?
Yes, I did. And it's a shame, and I kind of remember a guy that was like that. I ended up in what the so-called hospital, and there was a GI in there that wouldn't eat, and he kept saying he couldn't eat, and I was in there for what they call trench mouth. I don't know how I got that, but it was terrible.
So those who said I couldn't eat mean they died.
They died, yeah. Yeah. And there was nothing there that you could say to them to change their mind. Because once you get to that state, nothing's going to get better. I can't eat it. I can't eat it. And as soon as you say the word I can't, guess what? You can't.
Have you thought about why am I here?
A lot of times. Being of age where you wonder about wars, none of them make any sense. The invasion of North Korea and South Korea, whoever even heard of Korea? You know what I'm saying? And so that enters the picture. Here's a small country that's divided, and now there's a war. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, what's that got to do with me?
Right.
But it didn't turn out that way, and I'm glad it didn't, because we helped out, and we did our best. I was no fan of General MacArthur. I thought he didn't do it right.
What was wrong with him? What do you think that he did wrong?
He cared about himself too much,
Uh-huh.
and that meant his personality, and because he was this general, famous general from World War II, and he flew back to Japan every single day, so he didn't have to hang around. But he was the guy that wanted to go to the end of North Korea, and then they worried that he wanted to go to China. And then they let him go. But I didn't care for him.
What was the most difficult thing in the camp, if you are asked to single out?
Not having freedom. Not having freedom. Wanted to get out. That was me. I could handle whatever they wanted to give me, but I would never ever want to stay there.
Did you have a hope that you could survive?
Oh, I knew I was going to survive.
How?
I just had the vision of not giving up. I wasn't going to give up. never even came close to it. Even though there's a lot of times I was hurting. I mentioned my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I got trench mouth,
Yeah.
something fierce,
Uh-huh.
and if they treated me and it got better, that's all I care about. I had malaria. I didn't care about that. I made it through.
Hmm.
And so I was, as poor as my family was, our living conditions, I wanted to go back to that. Because it was a hell of a lot better than where I was.
So you think it was your strong will to survive that actually made you through?
Yeah. And with the help of God.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a Bible?
No. Somebody in fact, his name is Ed Reel, and he's here. He had a little booklet that the Army passes out. And I'm Catholic, and this little book was about the church service and reading the different, and I used to read that. And so.
What, were you allowed to have it in the camp? Did Chinese allow?
Well, he got in there by, he had it and they didn't find it, or else he wouldn't have had it. They didn't find it on him. But it was a little book that was only about this big, about this wide, about that thick.
How is it possible for 2 years? Every day they watch you and you still keep that?
Well, I used to sit outside, especially in the summertime, and like afternoon, and I'd sit in the doorway and I'd read it.
Uh-huh.
So they had all kinds of reading material, but it was all communistic stuff.
How was Chinese soldier to you guys?
Well, I think they were okay. They were doing what they were told to do, and they were nice. I thought they were nice, but I always also had the feeling that they were educated because they could speak English, and they were taken from their homes and brought into these POW camps.
All of them were able to speak in English?
Yeah.
All of them?
Well, let's see. Maybe the so-called company commander, he couldn't. And then we had, there was one other guy that couldn't. But most of the other ones could, yeah.
Where did you think that they got that English education?
In China. I think they went to school.
Any recreational activities that the POW did during the camp?
Well, we had to make a basketball field.
Yeah.
And that was one thing. I didn't play basketball, but even though I liked to play, but I didn't play on the team. They built a diving thing.
Diving board.
Yeah.
In the Yalu River, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All the backwaters, the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did that, and it was just inner camp get-togethers, you know. Chinese weren't involved in that.
How was the water quality in Yalu and the swimming?
I have no idea. I drank it, and that's all I know.
Wasn't looking that dirty?
At times, yeah. But when you need water, you need water. I mean, they didn't boil it or anything. They'd go down the river and fill up the bucket and bring it up, and that's what we drank.
When did you know that you were going to be released?
When the war was over, we got the information.
Before you didn't know anything about it? Nothing?
No.
So, how did they notify you?
They gathered us all together and told us the war was over.
Oh, when was it?
July the 27th.
On the day?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Well, I remember it. There was always rumors that the war was going to be over, but I got to a point where I wouldn't pay any attention to rumors. So I just didn't pay any attention to it. But we were there for quite a while. I didn't get released until August the 27th.
Mm-hmm. So from July 27th till August 27th, about a month period.
Yeah.
What was you thinking? I mean, how?
I was thinking that the war started again. In fact, we were, before the DMZ, we were still in North Korea, and all I could hear was these tanks rolling. And you know, to myself, I'm saying, did this thing start all over again now? I hear these tanks running, and
What do you mean? You were in the Camp 3, and how did you hear those tank?
well, we were trucked to the DMZ
When?
on August 20. No, we were there. I don't remember the dates of when we left camp or when we were by the DMZ. I know I crossed. It was August the 27th. I just know that.
What did you do? I mean, what was the first thing they did it for you when you crossed the 38 parallel?
Take all your clothes off and get washed down,
De-lice.
de-liced. We didn't have lice then anyway. We had lice earlier, like when I first got captured. I mean, that was terrible. I mean, that lice was all over the place.
Tell me about it.
Well, guys would open their shirts and they'd always be in a seam, and they'd take it and they go like this and snap, kill them. Or they'd squash it, step on it, whatever. Lice were falling out of the ceiling. Yeah, they were bad.
How many did you have? Did you count?
No, I never counted. I knew I had them. I had them in my hair, which was like this, you know. I got terrible hair. And then they'd crawl behind your ear and everything. And of course, they were all in a seam. Whatever kind of clothing you wore was in the seam.
First food that you ate after you crossed the 38 parallel?
I might have asked for a bowl of rice. I don't know. We were allowed to make a phone call home, and that was not from before we got to the States. That was after we got to the States. And I called them, and I talked to my mom first, and I said to her, I'm in San Francisco. I says, I don't know when we're going to come home, but it's going to be pretty soon. We're going to land at Midway Airport and all this and that. I said, so well, let me talk to my dad. And so I talked to him, and I told him the same thing. And my mother thought I was going to be back there the next day. And so the next day, I had to keep telling them I didn't know when I was coming home. They had 50 people out there waiting for me at the airport. When I finally got home, I had to take a taxi cab home. You know, it's so emotional. I've gone through life with my parents. They were loving, but there was not a lot of kissing on the cheek and hugging and stuff like that. It's something that was in them from being born in Austria, you know, little towns. Consequently, it rubbed off. Sure, I got hugged, but I had such a disappointment, though, when I got home because everybody that I hung out with in school, not one person came to see me after I got home. And even to this day, I have this question mark about why. We were friends. We did things together.
Did they know you were captured?
They knew. But they didn't come and see me after I got home.
Ah, that's bad.
Yeah. And I thought, well, okay, they didn't come today. They'll come tomorrow. Oh, next day, oh, maybe they'll come tomorrow. Maybe they're working, or, I'm giving all kinds of excuses to myself, but it didn't matter. They didn't. So I guess we weren't friends.
What is Korea to you now? After all those bitter, unthinkable experience.
I have more sympathy for the people in South Korea, and I always did. I felt that they were being, well, not they were being, they were attacked by an enemy. The only thing that I don't have that gives me a little thing to think about is dividing people in half. The good guys, the bad guys. And people in the north wanted to change government, and people in the south didn't. But it's tragic.
Yes. We are the only country divided because of this Cold War ideology.
It's tragic. And the guy that's running North Korea today, what is that? I don't understand. And I get the feeling that he doesn't want to bond with South Korea. He doesn't want to be friends. But I don't understand it. North Korea is like this. South Korea is like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Have you been back to Korea?
I have not.
You want to go back?
Well, here's my problem. I've been wanting to go back for more than once, many times. It's the airplane ride that turns me off right now. I've had opportunities, and like I said, I was kind of like on the brink of going, and the airplane ride turned me off. I'm sorry, but I don't know. That's what does it. Nothing else. I'd love to see it.
Anything that you want to add to this interview?
Not really. I'm glad I made it out of there. I certainly didn't like where I was. I didn't like what they were fighting for. I didn't understand all that. And to me, it was a useless war on their part. It shouldn't have been that way. But because there was every opportunity for that whole country to be together. And it didn't turn out that way. So they're the bad guys. South are the good guys. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, buddy.